What's that? Howls from the woods, movement under the water, something you notice off the corner of your eye, but you look, it's gone. This is Cryptid Talk. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today? It's been a bit, and I'm sorry about that. I, losing, being laid off from losing my job, stuff like that. Not because of anything that I did wrong or anything. Of course, this pops up just when I'm starting to record. But just my job location was closing, and so hold on, I'm just testing things real quick. Yeah, I was just the location was closing. They're moving things to new locations, so over time they were just letting people go, and my time finally came. So I've been kind of focusing on trying to get a new job and stuff like that, but I've missed recording. I've just missed it in general. So I decided to bring a real banger of an episode today. That it might be a two-parter, but we'll see. So I hope you are all nice and comfy and ready for a good one, because I definitely am ready for. I'm definitely ready to do this one for sure. Um, but yeah, but hopefully, if actually before anything else, is there any updates? Not really. I've got my the Pennsylvania BFRO expedition in a couple months in June. So really looking forward to that. It's gonna be a great time, and fingers crossed. But again, it's the name of the game. You never know what you're gonna get, if anything at all. But that's big footing for you. But we now know where exactly we're going. Unfortunately, I can't disclose that location. But of course, when the time does come and we are after the fact of the expedition, if anything happens, I will obviously talk about it here on the podcast. So if you're excited to hear about some expedition stuff like that, let me know. I may have mentioned this before we get started. I may have. Hopefully, this sounds okay. I'm a little bit farther because normally I'm a little closer to the mic like this, but I'm looking at my levels now. I'm still in a pretty good green, healthy area with it jumping to yellow just a little bit. So, let me know if this is too much, not loud enough, or something like that. But please, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, so if I mentioned this before, let me know. But something I've considered of doing is if I did like I guess a little video show kind of thing. Um, in simple terms, like investigations, like kind of thing. Like if I got like a camera, like a camcorder or some sort of video recording, something record video, and just go on like little like Bigfoot investigations or something that's probably more so Bigfoot, because that's like the closest thing probably nearby me. But if I did like little, I have no idea how long they would be or stuff like that. Like maybe interview people, but I don't know, like just something just go around and just go in and just like have just little investigations of like, all right, we're going to this area to look for Bigfoot today or something like that. Like let's record the adventure and stuff like that. Would that be something you guys would be interested in? Please let me know in the comments below or on the Facebook page, facebook.com/cryptid talk. That's why I post a lot of things and stuff like that. Also, I'm planning on having a poll for next week's episode. um the day that this episode when this episode is live now, if you're listening to this, head over to the Facebook page and go check out the poll, facebook.com/cryptid talk, and vote for what the next topic of the next episode should be about. I've got some kind of written down here, so hopefully they pique some interest in you or anything like that, or have suggestions for something else. Please let me know that as well. But yeah, would you guys be interested in me having like some sort of like video adventures and stuff like that, with me like editing them, and just stuff like that, because I've always wanted to do something like that, because lately I've gotten inspired by Small Town Monsters. If you haven't seen their stuff, I recommend going to, actually, if you're listening to this live the day this comes out, or like shortly after, if you're listening to this before the end of March but in the beginning of April, head over to Small Town Monsters on Kickstarter and support their videos. that will be coming out this year. There's some real good ones coming out this year, especially about the Ape Canyon incident that we had, the 100th anniversary of it last year, where my good friend Mark Marcel is going to be on there as for the thing. So I've already donated it and supported it, but they extended the what's the word for it? Because the deadline for it, because it was supposed to be like at the beginning of the month, but they extended it to the beginning of April. So head over there now and go support them. Because if you do support them at a certain tier, you do get your name in the credits. So go support them, go support good stuff like that. But yeah, so excuse me, that's something I kind of want to do. Not exactly like that, but because like let's go on a little investigations or something. I have no idea exactly how exactly it will come out, but honestly, I've been itching to do some sort of editing kind of like that for like the past couple of months, since I haven't, but since my, lost my job and stuff like that. So I've been wanting to I want to get into it again, but let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. So today's episode, obviously, if you looked at the title, you already know what you're in for, but today we will be discussing in some form, some length, some shorter, some longer, of the main cryptid of all 50 states in the United States. So depending on how long this takes, we'll take a look to see how we are when we get, because so let's say if I do like 2-3 minutes per each one, if not maybe some a little long, but let's say at least at 2 minutes for the first 25. That's close to like 50 minutes and stuff like that. And okay, there's those 25. Now we'll do the other ones another time, or depending how we go, maybe we have less time, kind of thing. So this is either going to be a two-parter or a mega episode. So we're just gonna go, and when we get to 25, I'll see how long the recording's been going on, where we're at, and if I feel like we're just gonna keep going, we're just gonna keep going. So, and these will also be in alphabetical order on the list that I was looking at. So if you're looking for your state and you're a little bit late, and it's a little bit farther down the alphabet, you're going to have to wait a little bit. Some of these you probably have heard of, some of these not. Many of these we have talked about on the show before. So I'll give just a little brief thing about it, and we'll go from there. So we won't go into them that much, since some of these we have talked about pretty extensively before. So let us start with the very first one. Actually, just in case, hold on, let me get one thing up real quick. The list I got off, I should be fine, but let's just get this. Nah, I shouldn't need that. Okay, so we will start with number one, or I guess, but we'll start with the first state, Alabama. Now I forget exactly how to say it, but so this one we talk about is the white thang. I wasn't sure how it was with white thang or white tang. Was the H just silent? I'm a little closer to testing. See, this is me being closer, and this is me being a little bit farther back. So hopefully back here sounds pretty good. But yeah, so the white thang, and yeah, wasn't really sure how it was, but looking into it and saw that Alabama, is in a little bit more is in the South, so apparently it is going with the draw of the white thang. So that's what we're going with. But the white thang is a 8-foot tall, white-haired creature. In a lot of people's descriptions, it's like close to a Bigfoot or some sort of white lion with red eyes, with pointy ears and a long tail. I don't know. Some of it seems very Bigfoot, and some of it doesn't, because obviously big, tall, hairy creature, 8 feet tall, that's around that's the size of a Bigfoot. The white hair isn't as common thing, but people in this area were very in the areas of when this thing started popping up. Did I not write that down? I did not. I'm a dummy. I did it for some of these, but some of them I think I started doing that a little bit later for some of them. But yeah, the white thing was just like it's like a Bigfoot with some extra features. Got like the pointed ears and the long tail. Oh, well, I did in the early 1900s. That's where it was. It also has some also besides also that it also has some other very weird and strange body descriptions. Had like the body of a kangaroo and like the head of a cat. And sometimes it was seen a lot of times it was seen running on all fours. Sometimes on two legs, but that was very common for it to people to say report them seeing it running on all four legs. And of course, and then also it also sounded like a woman screaming, like a howl, it's like "Rah!" like or "Ah!" I guess some sort of womanly scream and stuff like that. Um, Sometimes it does come off as being aggressive, but sometimes you're not. Just more or less just looking, seeing what you're doing, and then leaving. It also seems to have a very foul odor. I forget if it was this one. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of Bigfoot like cryptids here. But I think it was like one of these things. I think for this one, they were specifically saying this is not a Bigfoot. The some of his descriptions are very Bigfoot like. Obviously, people mentioning the big ones though, because there are stories of white Bigfoot. It can because for why there's white Bigfoot. The hair like for we go with the simple explanation of if they're being because of age. Like just like humans. When we grow older, we either lose our hair or it becomes like a gray or white. So wouldn't be unsurprising that if they are some sort of humanoid, like more closer to humanoids than like, I guess like chimpanzees, then maybe their hair does grow white as they get older. Some areas say that the white might be an actual adaptation for the Bigfoot in that area for some sort of reasons of just something a genetic trait that just stuck around and stayed around for just over the generations of reproduction in the area. But what makes this interesting is it's got the pointy ears and the long tail. Now, before we go into the body, the pointy ears and the long tail. Now, looking at the picture, what they have described for a long tail, like they're talking about like a long tail, not like if you consider like a long tail for like if you look at a chimpanzee, they don't have no tail. Then if you look at a dog, it has a tail. Now, that could be considered as a long tail, but like I wouldn't consider like a long tail. It's like, oh, that's a tail. A long tail. This thing seems to be like the length of the body or longer kind of thing. At least the length of the body. While a dog's tail really isn't like that. But this thing's got a really long tail, and then of course, which minus if we look at the really long tail, for example, for a second, the pointy ears and the tail at least, not necessarily going off the long part, but the tail itself it kind of seems like it's a little bit more like Dogman a little bit, So especially seen running on all fours, which Bigfoot have been known to run on all fours before, but but in this case, some people are saying that this one looks more running on all fours, so doesn't necessarily mean it couldn't be a Bigfoot, but but Bigfoot, as far as most people agreed upon, don't have pointed ears. They have just normal like humanoid ears, or like chimpanzee, like primate ears and stuff like that. They don't have pointy ears like that. So very interesting adaptation for how these pointy ears and the long tail, and of course the body and the head of a cat. I mean, so even though I one thing I was looking into that Alabama isn't super duper close to the oh wait crackers come on Google Maps. Come on. Zoom out. We must look at the states. Yeah. So yes, looking at where Alabama is, I was thinking, oh, like some of its description seems very Ozark Howler like a little bit, and unfortunately, it's nowhere near the Ozarks, not even close. That's still a couple states over and up. So unfortunately, that is the Ozark Howler. Is like, oh, this is an Ozark Howler in Alabama. Well, who knows, maybe, but at least it's not that far to it and everything like that. But very interesting Bigfoot-like cryptid in Alabama, the White Fang. The next one for Alaska, we have the Tizaruk, Tizharuk, Tizheruk. Pretty much, it is a sea serpent that is 15 feet long. and apparently it snatches people from the docks and piers of where it is seen in Alaska. Locals apparently are very scared of the creature. Descriptions vary, but most agree that it has a long, slender body with a big head and flippers. So it pretty much has like the very generic sea serpent like approach. If you know, like maybe more with like the flippers, but very sea serpent. Like it can be around 15 feet long, and so it seems to be a bit of an aggressive creature. But Alaska, has so many different things going on there on land and sea. So who knows? I mean, it's not like it's in the range of something that's like unheard that's crazy. But they say it's 15. For all we know, it actually could be bigger or smaller. But definitely 15, something 15 feet long. Whether or not it actually like swallows you whole or kills you right there, something that is 15 feet long and some sort of serpentine like body definitely should be strong enough to able to snatch you off there or knock you off the pier into the water. There's pretty much and it gets a bite on your it gets a good bite on your leg. There is nothing stopping it from it dragging you down to the to drown you and then finish you off there. Nothing stopping it. But so yeah, so we got the very generic sea serpent cryptid in Alaska. Next we got is Arizona. All right, hold on. Mogollon monster. And this one is just our very generic Bigfoot-like cryptid in Arizona. It's a Bigfoot-like creature that is 7 feet tall, covered in long hair with red eyes and a terrible stench. So we've already got the generic look, the generic description of just a Bigfoot of what they call them there. Locals say that it mimics birds, coyotes, and other wildlife, which is again another description that Bigfoot all over the place have all shown similar traits and characteristics and habits in other areas before. In the 1940s, on a Boy Scout trip, one was looked at from someone on the trip, and then just looked into the person and the creature knows each other, and just watched, and then the creature just walked away. All very similar Bigfoot traits, the red eyes and the terrible stench. The terrible smell normally for a Bigfoot is normally more described for the skunk ape in the south, but in reality, the terrible stench for a lot of Bigfoot is a lot more of them than just the skunk ape. So they're very well known. They're very well known thing for all of them that they smell. Some smell worse than others depending on circumstances, but you know but the terrible stench is just something that's very common with a lot of Bigfoot creatures because obviously they don't really, as far as we know, don't really bathe completely. In some way, they probably do, but it's not like they're using soap. But so just the generic Bigfoot like creature that has been seen then and is still being seen today. Next one we have Arkansas and we have the Falk monster, and it's another Bigfoot one. It's a large, hairy creature with red eyes, staying between 7 to 10 feet tall, smelling like wet dog mixed with skunk. There we go. Again, more of the generic Bigfoot traits: the eyes, the height, the smell. Some especially Falk, Arkansas. With a lot of like swamps, there are probably like some of the more like smelliest. I guess like that's where a lot of the smell comes from. They smell like skunk. Terrible water and stuff like that, and everything that some of the things they're probably swimming in or traveling through probably doesn't smell good like at all. But the Falk monster is also a very important one because it has one of the most influential it has one of the most influential Bigfoot movies of all time, being The Legend of Boggy Creek that came out in 1972. And was that? No, that was 2 years ago. Goodness gracious. Yeah, 2 years ago, when I met Ken Gerhard for the first time, I I bought a he had one left. I bought a 4K copy of the Legend of Boggy Creek from him, and he signed it. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet, but because I don't have a 4K player to really show off the movie well. But it's been a very long time since I've seen that movie. But for a lot of people, besides that they just saw the PG film on like the news and like that, the the Legend of Bog Creek is one of the most influential monsters, like influential movies of all time. Really gained people into the story of it. Now again, I know I've briefly talked about the Legend of Bog, the Falcon Monster, and Legend of Bog Creek before, but I'll just go into it just a little bit more. That the actual story itself of what happens in the movie is fiction. These are the story of what happens and everything like that is not real. What is real though is the fact that the monster does exist, and there are people that they interview that are talking like, "Oh yeah, I saw this thing," are all real people in that area that actually did see something. So those aren't like, "Okay, all right, here read this, read a script." Though those were not actors, the people that they interviewed in the movie were the real deal. People who actually had real encounters with this creature or creatures, but with the Falcon monster. So it's a very interesting one, and probably up there is one of the most important things. I want to say probably after the PG film, one of the most important like movies involving Bigfoot of all time, and got a lot of people into the topic of Bigfoot. Was because of this movie. I hear about a lot of people. I hear about it from so many people that like, oh yeah, the Legend of Boggy Creek was what got me into it. I was a little bit, and it is a little bit. It's supposed to be like a little bit of a scary movie because you never really get a good look at the creature, but it's only supposed to be a scary movie, but not really. If anything, it's a very good movie, and if you get a chance to watch it, I highly recommend it. The Legend of Boggy Creek. It's very good. Okay, next we got is California, The Dark Watchers. A bit of a creepy one, but let's get into it a little bit. They are. Let me read the thing real quick. Mysterious, silent, dark silhouettes that are significantly taller than the average person, going from 7 to 15 feet tall. Even seen again at the twilight sky. Sometimes seen what look like they're wearing cloaks and hats, kind of like top hats or like a bowler hat or something like that. So or it's like wearing hats or walking sticks. Yeah, I also found this part that found that out too. So yeah, so they're pretty much just like these things that apparently stand on the ridges or of just because the sun is going down, and there's just these silhouette figures just looking at you. And if you ever try to really get a good look at them or try to approach them, they seem to just like vanish in like mist. They just vanish like they were never even there. Yeah, seen around the hours of dusk or dawn, and they just disappear. They are seen around the Santa Lucia mountain range. Spanish settlers as far back as the 1700s tell stories of these beings, and they are even seen even today. Most of the times they appear just to be harmless. They are literally just watching. Some people argue that they may just be just some rational explanations of the placement of the sun and you, and when that's why they don't see them move. But then when you do get close, it seems like they just vanish because you move from where you were, casting the shadow, and and of course then the figure would also disappear as well. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Well, okay, some cases, yes. So all of them, hard to say. Some people, don't move at all, and these things still disappear. But again, some things do just vanish in the mist because they're just from just simple wind and stuff like that. So, are these things real? Are these things just a figment of people's imagination or just natural occurrences? Or are they something else? Some sort of interdimensional being or a hologram of some sort projected by something just to keep an eye on us, see what the hell we're doing? Who knows? Definitely something interesting. Whether or not they are truly real or they're all fake or they're all real or half and half, hard to say. But definitely something very interesting for sure. I honestly thought the cryptid, if you recall that for California, I honestly thought it was either going to be Bigfoot or black-eyed children. Now, black-eyed children are seen everywhere, but they seem to be more prominent in California from what I saw. So something very interesting. The next one, Colorado slide rock bolter. This is an interesting one. I'm not sure what I feel about it, but the description goes like a whale like mountain monster with a huge mouth, flared tail, and apparently was last seen 100 years ago. It's pretty. It's like it was seen in like the 19th century. It was seen in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Apparently, it's only ever seen on mountains where the slope is an angle. Apparently, it's only seen to be seen on mountains where the slope and its angle is greater than 45 degrees. I know, very oddly specific. Parents got an immense head, small eyes, a big, large, gaping mouth, and apparently the tail of like a dolphin. The picture of it just seems like it's some giant rock whale that apparently likes to cling onto mountain edges, and then when it sees its prey or people, it then lets go, kind of like a little bit of a landslide, but it comes down and just slides in and just gulps them back up. Now, where they ever go after this, it's like that. I don't know. Maybe there's just some misidentifications of just of just normal rock slides that are very prominent in areas like that, or maybe there's something more to it. I mean, apparently one of the things I looked up, I saw when I was looking into this was that they created like a fake person, like they made like a little mannequin, like a scarecrow, placed in a spot. The people watching went to a different spot as they saw this thing eyeing it, and then fall down and then consuming, the fake person. But I don't know, and I've seen this one before, but this is really the first time I actually really like looked into it. I don't know. It's definitely a weird one. It's definitely interesting. I don't know if what's the truth behind it, but definitely something really interesting. And if you've got time, I'll look into yourself and give your thoughts about what you think this thing is, and if it is real or it's not, or just a misunderstanding of something else. Next, we got Connecticut. this is an interesting one. Melon heads. Um, Inbred cannibal descendants of asylum patients with huge heads, bulging eyes, and they like to lurk in the woods. Apparently, all seem to be very prominent also in Ohio and Michigan. But yeah, interesting. In Fairfield County, an asylum burned down there in the fall of 1960. 10 to 20 inmates, after all of it, were unaccounted for. Apparently, then once these people, escaped, they supposedly resulted to cannibalism and inbreeding. Dang it! I wrote this down, but I forget what this was. 1 second. Right. Okay. So I looked into it a little bit, like what does cannibalism do to the human body? Like, is it like, obviously, it's frowned down upon, it's like very taboo to do, but I was curious, like, all right, what does the eating human flesh do to the body? Well, not really much, really. I was expecting like to be like, oh, maybe it's like poisonous to us, or just like it doesn't have something that if we were to say eat beef, that would give us more something for beef that the human body does not give us. But I didn't really see anything. There really wasn't anything that really stepped out as like, oh, eating human flesh does this. The only problem there ever seemed to be anything was if someone ever ate the brain. Let's see. Okay, so one of the things that they talked about, I looked into a little more and I saw this that might have caused these possible bulging, like big melon like heads, was a very rare and fatal disease called Kuru. That was caused by prion, an infectious protein transmitted through cannibalism. So that telling if you through cannibalism, in the sense that does cause that, but it's also, again, very rare, particularly among the 4 people in Papua New Guinea. So So that's possibly would have caused some of these weird things in cannibalism. Obviously, of course, these people didn't live for very long because well, again, how rare it is, but also very dangerous too, which might have caused some of these weird, strange looks and their big bulges head. And other people think that they also got these bulging heads from some of these asylums that are maybe doing tests on them and giving them these big old bulging heads and stuff like that. The pictures are pretty weird and a little disturbing in a way. So if you're curious to see like melon heads in like insane asylums, take a look and see what some of these people supposedly did, at least what these people look, not necessarily these people in general, but very similar description on how they look. Definitely a very interesting one, though. Sure, the picture makes it look like there's some like little alien or something like that, but nah, not this case. Next one, we got Delaware, the Selbyville swamp monster. Described in okay, yeah. Described as either a hairy biped creature or a ghost-like figure. Apparently, initially it was the hoax by an actor. In the early 1600s, it was a tall, Bigfoot-like creature. Had a very weird head with pointy ears. Would look like a baseball bat with like a nail going through, like a club, and like a long, like raccoon-like tail. But this is interesting because this is when the initial thing happened. This weird picture of this thing going like "rawr," kind of thing. But found out that initial thing was not was a hoax. But in the 1920s, there were sightings and sounds heard by hunters in the area 40 years before this happened. So people may not have said anything about it, but there was activity of some sort of creature years before many years before this even happened. Now, I was looking at the Delaware real quick on the BFRO website. There really isn't much in BFRO reports. Yeah, obviously there are some things that. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic there. That are people they do see things, but are not always reported on the BFRO website. But the only main area where there's any sort of recordings sightings there is in Sussex County in southern Delaware, where it only has 5 sightings, where the earliest one being 1998 and the last recorded one being 2012. But just because they're not reporting them doesn't mean there haven't been sightings. But again, if there need to be sightings, there needs to be people there. Without any people, you can't have reports or any sort of sighting or anything like that. So definitely, so even if unfortunately the 1960 picture and creature encounters there was fake, the creature itself, I believe, is real. That might be coming over from parts of Maryland over there. But I think there is more to it than just that. There's more to it than it just being a simple hoax that this one person did, while there have been something seen and heard 40 years before this incident. So I don't know. We'll see. Next one, we have Florida, and no surprise, it is the skunk ape. I'm not going to go into it too much since we have talked about skunk ape before. If you want the full breakdown of skunk ape, look back into my previous episodes and go give that one a listen. But we'll give a good little thing of it real quick. The skunk ape, just a tall, large, very foul-smelling creature. Hence the name skunk ape. Smelled like a skunk, rotting flesh and pond scum. A hairy ape-like creature that seemed to be more described than most people as a reddish brown like color. Again, another cryptid. There's many different variations of Bigfoot all over the U.S. with very different names, with a lot of characteristics shared among them. There have been skunk apes sightings going back from the 1960s, and maybe even before that. Tall humanoid creature, 6 to 7 feet tall. It's not as big as a lot of other Bigfoot are, but still big and strong and fast nonetheless. Yeah, the reddish brown fur, very terrible smell, and like many people think that they are bears. Sure, there could be some. There's no because again, there are some that do seem as the generic brown, black, like a lot of other Bigfoot reportings are, but but the reddish brown ones, even in other areas, do pop up from time to time. But the skunk ape just seems to be more prominently more as a more as a red is the reddish brown. But bears, at least in Florida, because the only bear in Florida, if should be the black bear, and maybe there could be some circumstances that could make them seem more a bit red and more reddish brown than the generic black that they are, but that would be kind of hard to misidentify sometimes. But like I said before, some misidentifications of Bigfoot just a bear. Sure, I bet there are some, but are all of them? No. But I believe the skunk ape does exist. Again, if you want my full breakdown of skunk ape, go back to my previous episodes where I did talk about it, in a lot more depth. Next, number 10, we've got Georgia. How are we doing on time? Okay. Why I say number 10? Georgia. Okay. Hold on, I gotta pronounce. Hold on. Altamaha. Or Altamaha. It is is a 20 to 30 foot long green cryptid with a sturgeon-like body, large protruding eyes, and sharp teeth. It's got front flippers it's got flippers in the front, but not in the back. Apparently, it's got a long snout like a crocodile with sharp, dangerous teeth. There are some sightings of the creature going back to the 1830. While there are even some earlier sightings from French explorers in the 1500s. I feel like I did do this, but okay, hold on. Fish in Delaware. Oh, whoops! No, Delaware. That was the other one. In Georgia. Yeah, because I think I do remember looking this up before all the fish in Georgia, and there is hold on, are there sturgeon in Georgia? Okay, so there species of sturgeon have been found. Atlantic lake and Atlantic sturgeon have been found in Georgia. They're not very common, but sturgeons can grow up to big size. It can be decent sizes, while the biggest sturgeon, I believe, is the white sturgeon. So it could be possible that some of these accounts of these very big sturgeon were probably of the not sturgeon, but of the sea monster might actually just be very big sturgeon, because they do have a big long body with a sturgeon-like body, because they are sturgeons. They got front flippers, but nothing in the back, nothing. They got like little rear flippers or anything like that, which sturgeons have and don't have, but also have like the long crocodile like snout, with the teeth actually being their little whiskers that they have there, which if you're not looking at correctly, you could think that this was possibly some big large, like with big large teeth like creature. So, and they do have pretty, hold on, let me look at the picture. They do have some pretty interesting eyes, not really protruding per se, but definitely interesting nonetheless. But could there be something else there? Maybe. Is this a possible misidentification of a modern animal, or of a known animal like a sturgeon, of a very big sturgeon? Because there are stories and pictures of sturgeon back in the day, of huge sturgeon, like monster-sized sturgeon, that people really don't see anymore because they were hunted to extinction. And it's not hunted extinction, but just hunted where the rarity of big sturgeon is very, very hard. Because for the maturity of a sturgeon, they have to grow very old to reproduce. How old do sturgeon need? Do sturgeon you have to be to reproduce? Compared to other fish, but only takes a couple years. Males reach sexual maturity around 15 to 20 years old, while females it takes 20 to 25 years old. So at max, we would need to wait at least 25 years for sturgeon to be sexually mature enough to be able to even reproduce, to even make more. And if they're hunted and killed long before they even get to that age, then they never even get a chance to even reproduce. While some fish they can do within a year or so, it takes monumentally so much longer, like kind of like a person, to even get to that point where they're sexually mature to be able to do so. So it is possible that some of these sightings were just very large sturgeon that people thought were this strange creature with big old teeth. But obviously, I don't live there. But going by from what I've seen, that's what I think. Next, Hawaii. We've got the menehune. They are tiny beings around 2 feet tall, only appear in the night to build structures, rarely ever seen by humans. And they seem to make like little bridges and little buildings and stuff like that. If you see, apparently, but though if you do see one, it is sign of good fortune. So yeah, because they pretty much look like just little people with like a little grass skirt, some like little bracelets, a headband, and it's got like little markings all over their body. Where are we? There it is. um, because they're representing the spiritual connection to the land. So they are seen as a good thing. They can be a little it's a connection to the land, linked to storytelling, enchantment, and preservation of Hawaiian culture. So they're kind of like the essence of what like Hawaiian culture to be, just spreading good fortune, luck, and care to all. So many people always describe them as being like a little mini Bigfoot, kind of thing. But I think these are a bit more, maybe something a bit more spiritual, maybe not as much physical. But again, hard to say for sure. But menehune, definitely a very interesting one for Hawaiian culture. Next, we have Idaho, and we have Charlie. We're kind of getting into there a little bit because after Nessie, a lot of lake monsters that if the description was very similar to Nessie, they all ended with like some sort of E or SE or something like that. We'll get to those other ones, but so far that's what we're starting off with this one. And so Charlie, yeah, stories go with it being like 30 to 35 feet long, like lake monster with a dinosaur-like head, humps, and a shell-like complexion. So its overall description is very just Nessie plesiosaur kind of look. Maybe this one has a bit more of a longer tail than a plesiosaur because they didn't really have for long tails, but that is how it's being described. It is seen in Payette Lake in McCall, Idaho. Native Americans have references to references to this creature for many years. The first documented sighting, they thought it was a log that all of a sudden moved. Sturgeon are not known to be in this lake, and I think I do remember looking this up. There's really nothing else big in like anything big creature wise of known animals that could be misidentified. Sure. For some, not just here but lake monsters in general, a very common thing for a lot of people is them because some sightings of them look like a log, and then all of a sudden the log like sinks or moves around, stuff like that. Well, a lot of logs do have, a lot of times when they do fall, they have gases in them. So at first when they fall, they're kind of floating on there a little bit. But then when they don't have gas anymore, they a lot of times after that they then sink, looking like they're like a big old long creature that then sinks back down into the dark depths of the water. So for some cases that might be what some people are describing. Some people see this thing moving a lot, like undulating and wakes going out from it. So a bit more than just a simple log. Some of these are more than just a simple log that just lays there, and all of a sudden, it then starts moving around and about. But very cool, interesting design. But the fact that Native American, like I'm going to mention this a few times during this, but whenever the Native Americans or the indigenous locals of the area have stories of these of cryptids long before people really even knew they were there or even started to document it, gives a bit more, at least validity to it, that there's something a bit more to it than just a simple misidentification of something. There's something more to it. Especially if these people lived here for a long time. I would think they have a pretty good idea of what lives in their area. So definitely very interesting nonetheless. Next we have Illinois. Oh, let me go down. There we go. I'm not going to talk about this one too much because we might come back to this one as a future episode because it's very interesting, and I want to research this one a little bit more because I thought it was pretty straightforward. Oh, it's just a Bigfoot clone, but I think there's a bit more to it than that. But we'll go quickly into it. The Enfield Monster. It's a strange three-legged creature that looks like a Bigfoot, but then also has a really long tail. And it's only around like 4.5 feet tall, and apparently it also has incredible jumping skills. I don't want to. I really don't want to go into this one too deeply because I might want to do an episode of this one, and I think it would be pretty interesting to do it. Actually, hold on, I gotta write something down real quick. Enfield Monster. Okay. But the story that I read of it was very interesting. This person got a really good look at it, and its jumping skills, able to jump very far, very quickly, and just its unique thing of it having only 3 legs. Again, 2 is weird enough, but yeah, but again, it has 3 legs and it's got two arms. So very strange creature. Definitely one I want to look into a bit more. Whether or not there'll be enough information for it to be its full own episode, I don't know. If not, maybe we'll find another cryptid to go along with it. But interesting nonetheless, for sure. And look forward to an episode dedicated to this thing in the coming up future. Indiana. We talked about this one a little bit, so we won't go too deeply into it. But the Beast of Busco. 1949 in Churubusco, Beast of Busco, kind of where God's name, telling of someone who saw seeing a turtle the size of a Volkswagen, a big old snapping turtle. And after stories of it, they drained the so-called lake or pond where it was and never found any traces of it. I believe that there's a chance that it might have maybe during the night swapped over to one of the other near lakes and ponds nearby, across the street. But who knows for sure. I did an episode about the Beast of Busco, so if you want to more in-depth analysis about it, please head over to that video, and also give it a like and comment and all the stuff about there. But the idea of a giant snapping turtle was very cool, but at the same time also terrifying. Normal alligator snapping turtles can be big enough to a point where they can, if they get it just right, I believe a big enough alligator snapping turtle could easily take a finger of your hand. At least if they got it correctly, could probably easily bite your hand off. Like if it went for the wrist and it was one of the bigger ones, that thing would either take it off completely or almost sever it, where you pretty much at that point you might as well just cut the hand off. Snapping turtles, alligator snapping turtles, and just snapping turtles in general, no joke. So I can't imagine the one the size of a Volkswagen where it could eat a person it could chop a person in half. Very interesting idea of a giant snapping turtle, but whether or not it existed or not, say for sure, who knows for sure. But head over to another episode where I talk about it. Next we've got is Iowa, the Van Meter Visitor. Another there we go. Yeah, another cryptid we talked about recently. So if you want to go listen to more in-depth analysis, head over there. But we'll give a quick little thing of it real quick. In 1903, the strange humanoid-sized creature with the bats like a wing and pterosaur like looking body and head supposedly also had a horn on its head where it would either shoot or project a light from it. Very just strange creature. It was only seen for a little bit until it then was vanished and it was never seen again. Some people say they still have seen it even till today, but I don't know. It's such a very The one thing I do, this one calls it the Van Meter Monster, but I've always liked the original name, the Van Meter Visitor, meaning like it was either some sort of alien or the fact that it was only here for a short amount of time and then left. Maybe that's why people call it more of a visitor. But I've always liked that name of it more because it's something different. Because there's always something like the blah 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 monster. Because obviously this happened in Van Meter, Idaho, but Idaho, god damn it, no, Iowa. So many, yeah. But so yeah, so I've always it's just a very unique cryptid. It's more than just a simple pterosaur flying reptilian sightings that happen across the U.S. But it's a bit more than that, especially the whole light protruding. It's very similar to another cryptid in Papua New Guinea. If you want to know more about that, head over to the episode where I did talk about the Van Meter Visitor. I go into a lot more in-depth analysis about it and everything. So if you want to learn more, head over there. I greatly appreciate it. But a very cool and interesting cryptid nonetheless that I believe was real, but who knows for sure. But hey, go give my video a listen, my other episode a listen, and if you want to more look into it. All right, next one we've got is Kansas, and this one is called Sinkhole Sam. Pretty much in simple terms, like a giant snake-like worm-like cryptid of a much bigger size than your average worm or snake that definitely would be seen around that area. Something happened in the 1900s and 1960s. It was 15 feet long. Some stories say it was as round as a car tire, which is pretty thick. That's pretty thick and pretty long. Even even a lot of even like some of the bigger anacondas don't get at least close to that, or at least anything like that. So that's pretty crazy for sure. It lives in the story goes that it lives in Inman Lake, known as the Sinkhole, and ergo Sinkhole Sam. Um, Very interesting. And many people think that this is actually believed to be a prehistoric worm that escaped from an underground cavern where it was either living in hibernation or just living, without any problems for millions of years. The sightings did stop, but 50 miles south, the sightings did start occurring again in Kingman's State Lake. 50 miles south of where this one was initially located, of something very similar to it. So, what exactly was or is Sinkhole Sam? Is it some sort of a prehistoric worm-like creature that from prehistoric times, or is it something else, or is it some snake? Who knows? There wasn't a super duper lot of information about it, but definitely an interesting one, and definitely something a little bit different than the traditional like other like lake monsters and stuff like that. So I thought this one was pretty neat for sure. Next we got Kentucky, the Hopkinsville Goblins. Another crypt that we have talked about on the show here before, so I won't go too dipped into it. But this is definitely one I would definitely recommend for sure, because I believe I talked about this one when I did when I did the alien cryptids. Hold on, Dover Demon. Maybe not. But I know in a few recent episodes we did talk about when we talked about the Flatwoods Monster and stuff like that. So I definitely have we definitely have talked about it recently. I would definitely recommend giving that one a listen. But in long story short, they are just these tiny little goblin-like creatures around 3 feet tall that are green, supposedly have like these silver suits, like they're wearing like some like little silver like little protective suit for it, like a little space suit. Story goes that they terrorize a family filled with about 7 people. The people in the cabin started shooting at them, but supposedly whenever the bullets hit them, they seem to have done no effect. And then they were marked. And afterwards, after the creatures did leave, they called police. They came and inspected the cabin and everything like that, and there were scratch marks of something all over the cabins, and all these different marks on the ground and everything else like that. But they were never able to confirm what they were or anything else like that. But look back in the previous episode where we talked about the um, Hopkinsville goblins in Kentucky, and let me know what you think. But this is definitely a very interesting one, and if you want to know more, go give that one a listen for sure. Next, we got Louisiana, and we now got the Rougarou, or just in simple terms, another version of a dogman like creature. Very close to its description, because we've talked about Dogman before, so we won't go as in depth into it as before and normal, but we will go a little bit into it because the Rougarou seems to be a little bit more different and or special than your average Dogman. There are a lot of legends behind the Rougarou, and apparently, supposedly, it has like mystical powers. Like it's it's a witch that's used, that uses dark magic to hunt people and stuff like that. Probably really dangerous because a lot of stories of Dogman are very, very dangerous. They also talk about like the Rougarou, since it seems Rougarous in particular, since it's always in the South, South always has like the whole like bayou magic and like a lot of like movies and cartoons and shows and stuff like that. Now the Rougarou is more of like someone who got transformed in by voodoo magic, and or kind of like a lycanthropy. Lycanthropy, I think that's the way you say it. Where that's the lycanism is pretty much where the whole idea of a person being turned into like a werewolf or like a dog man kind of like creature. That's what the general process of that is called. But yeah, still, other than that very generic dog man, just like looks like a humanoid body, sharp claws, big feet. He's got the head of a dog, pointy ears, sharp teeth, red eyes. Just that generic that generic description of it. But definitely very cool, very interesting, and hopefully one day I see something like that, but at a safe distance. Next, we have Maine. Not what I thought it was going to be, but the cryptid I thought this was actually going to be is actually in another state. But we in Maine we have the specter moose. Interesting. I know. Just hear me out for a second. It is as the name suspect. It is a moose that it seems to be more of like a ghost, like a ghostly white. It was seen in 1891, where bullets would seem to have just bounced off it. And so it would pretty much a big creature. It was not seen again until 1985, supposedly. I want to break this one down a little bit. So, in general, a bull moose, because that's how it has been described as, like bull moose. They described it as 10 to 15 feet tall with glowing antlers that seemed that it would disappear out of nowhere. So, obviously, back then, some guns like to kill moose are pretty tough creatures to hunt, because they are obviously also very dangerous and also very big, strong, and bulky animals. So there's a possible chance that some of these early bullets in the late 1800s may not have been strong enough to even hit a moose, to take down a moose easily. So these bullets may have shot it and it bounced off of it. But that's why I'm going to emphasize real quick the bounced off of it part of it. If this was so-called like a spectral moose that these people were describing it as, wouldn't the bullets have just gone through it? Or would these have been more of like, oh, this is like it had a physical form for a brief moment until it then vanished afterwards, Maybe. But it also could be possible that these sightings of these people that they saw was actually just an albino moose, which there have been reportings of, in video of albino moose. Actually, you know what? I want to look at that real quick. Albino, like a lot of animals that are albino are very cool when they're albino moose. Yeah, albino moose is very cool. Even because obviously, yeah, even when they're all like fuzzy and stuff like that, their horns because a lot of deer, like a lot of deer and moose and elk, for a period of time. I think it's more so during winter. They do have like these little fuzzy little hair things on their antlers. And then later on, when it starts getting warmer, they then scrape them off. But they are white too during those times of year, and it looks like a big old ghostly moose. They're not common. Albinoism in animals, it just in general is very rare. But having an albino moose is not uncommon. It can happen. So it is very likely that what these people saw was literally just an albino moose. Bullets shot off of it, and it bounced off of it, and being like, because it probably was strong, and the moose was like, "What the hell did you just do? Get over here!" And they're like, "Ah!" And chase out, like, "I'm a moose," kind of thing, and go and like, scare the guy off. Yeah, don't mess with moose. I'm gonna say that right now. So I believe that's possibly what people saw in Maine was literally just an albino moose that they fully weren't aware of. But even then, even the one that was seen in 1985, albino animals would have been a lot more common, or at least well known of, and maybe because maybe the legend there of a spectral moose was just so common that when they saw one again, like, oh, the spectral moose again, kind of thing. But who knows? Could there be more to the spectral moose thing than it's simply just an albino moose? Very possible. I don't know. But initial thoughts probably think that that's probably what it is, but I can't say for sure. But definitely something interesting nonetheless. Okay. So next, we've got Maryland and we have Chessie. So here we go. Here's another one to copy the Nessies we got going on here. Chessie was seen in the Chesapeake Bay. So obviously Chesapeake, Chessie, Nessie, Chesapeake Bay plus Nessie equals Chessie. I know, very original. Supposedly it looks like Nessie, but more say it's more of like a serpentine like sea monster. Excuse me, like body. I knew I shouldn't eat buffalo wings a couple hours before this. I'm still getting little burps about those. Excuse me. But yeah, see more sea serpent instead of the generic like Nessie Loch Ness monster kind of look to it. Some say people reports say go from it being 25 to 40 feet long. Stories happen in like in 1977, and then a lot of them seem to initially continued on until the 1980s. In the area, Maryland, they may not be very common, but some of these sightings of Chessie might have possibly have been manatees that came up from Florida. Now, it is very, very rare for them to come up, but it is not unheard of. Actually, hold on a second. Where do dugongs live? Look at this picture real quick. Yeah, dugongs. Dugongs is a relative of the manatee. That's one of the things that people think that might just show early mermaid sightings, but hard to say. Mermaids, another time. I guess we should probably look into mermaid episode. You know what? We shall add it. We shall add mermaids into the poll list. So let's see. Mermaids. But yeah, so dugongs are skinnier, kind of longer cousin of manatees, but they are definitely nowhere near us at all. They are a lot of them are in the Pacific Ocean, going towards Australia, Africa, Indonesia, China, in India. So definitely anywhere near us. So it's not like it could be misidentified as that. But supposedly there was a manatee that they would keep seeing, and there capture it, reclaim it back to Florida, and they brought it back down, and then people started calling that one that manatee Chessie. But hard to say. So could there be something more there? Sure. I mean, the ocean is huge, so there definitely could be something there. Could some of these be misidentification of this of a very rare cases of a manatee? Maybe, but again, manatees are kind of like a little bit smaller, bulkier little creatures with a tail. They don't really have a serpentine like look. So maybe there's something else going on there, and maybe some of these are being misidentified as this manatee coming up from the south. Massachusetts, we've got the Dover Demon. I won't go too deeply into it because I did talk about the Dover Demon pretty extensively in the episode where we talked about the Flatwoods Monster. So I would definitely give that one a look if you want to learn more about the Dover Demon. But I'll give it a quick little thing of it real quick. The Dover Demon was only seen for 2 days in April 21st and 22nd of 1977. It was only seen those 2 times. It's around 3 to 4 feet tall. And after that, it was never seen again. There's been no reports of anything like that. Some people say by just its description itself of this little creature with like this big old bulbous head with with big old eyes and no mouth, that it might have been some sort of alien or something else. Who knows for sure? But if you want more depth, go listen to the episode where I talk about that along with the Flatwoods Monster. Next, we've got Michigan. No surprise here. This one is the Michigan Dogman. Initially was seen in 1887. 7 feet tall, generic Dogman look. Got the tail, dog, and just humanoid dog creature, werewolf kind of thing. Very description kind of thing. Supposedly, as the Michigan Dogman story goes, is that it appears every 10 years. It appears in a 10-year cycle with all years ending in 7. So technically, if we were to think of it like that, if those are true, there won't be any new Michigan Dogman sightings for at least another 2 years, and in 2027. But that doesn't stop the rest of the United States having Dogman sightings even till today. So, yeah. But Dogman, very interesting creature, but dangerous, very dangerous. I know I talked about Dogman before, so if you want to leave one more in depth about Dogman, go give that one. That was one of my first few earlier episodes. Go give that one a listen. All right, next one we got is Minnesota. Now this is the one. Now this is the cryptid that I thought was gonna be in Maine, because I think of this cryptid more over in Maine, in the more colder parts of the southeast, the northeastern United States, and that is the Wendigo. We know we talked about Wendigos before. I think Wendigos and Skinwalkers were actually episode 3, I believe. So again, I won't go super duper in depth analysis. Go give it a look. Go give it a listen over there if you want to get more into it. But the Wendigo, it varies, but ultimately it always comes down to it's got like a deer-like, skull-like head with antlers, it protruding and very well visible ribs. And apparently it likes to copy people's voices and people in general, and likes to attack people too. They always say that if you're ever in the Appalachian Mountains, or in particular, and you're ever camping and you ever hear like a woman screaming or anything like that, the advice that people always seem to give you is ignore it. Don't go anywhere close to it. Just ignore it and just don't pay it any mind. So very dangerous cryptid for sure. It just any voices in general, especially if they seem like to copy yours or anything like that, ignore the voices. Do not go towards them, and just be very mindful of anything you hear in the woods that sounds like anything trying to get your attention or for you to come closer to it. Be very mindful. Next, we have Mississippi, and we have the. Hold on, let me try to pronounce this correctly. Pascagoula River aliens. Interesting one. Robot-like aliens, just about 5 feet tall, with carrot-shaped heads. The underside of a carrot, not the pointy end, but like the rounder, the bulgier side. Emerging from a glowing egg-shaped spaceship. 2 men supposedly were abducted in 1937 along the river, and while they were fishing, they heard a strange noise. Next thing you know, they were conscious on some sort of spacecraft, fully aware of what was going on, but they were paralyzed, couldn't move an inch. They also describe these creatures as having these little robotic slit mouths, so just a little grin like slit, and crab-like pincer hands. Very apparently these men were not brought to any harm. They were just experimented on or just looked at by these aliens. But obviously, they were alive, if they were to come back and tell the story. But definitely a very unique design, of a very unique description of alien. Now, of course, if there's many weird descriptions of us, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's other many different kind of descriptions or body types of aliens up in space. And then number 25, we have Missouri, and that is Momo, the Missouri monster, which is again another Bigfoot-like creature. Reports started coming in around 1971 with a big old hairy creature with a pumpkin-shaped head and hair, 7 feet tall, very dark black hair. Missouri monster equals Momo, so that's how they got the name for it. There haven't been really much sightings since then, at least reportedly. A lot of the behavior that people talk about with Momo during this time seemed to be very the generic Bigfoot: screams, wood knocks, howls, just like curiosity, taking things, looking at you behind trees and stuff like that. And yeah, so just another very generic, one of the many Bigfoot types in the United States. So that is so we're gonna take a quick pause right there, real quick. That is 25. We are halfway through the states of the United States, and you know what? Hold tight, real quick. I'll walk away real quick. I hope you're all having a really good day so far, and I am too. Glad to record again. I'll be right there. I need water. I know, I probably should edit this out, if anything, but hopefully I'm not even sure this can even be heard or anything like that, but I don't know. There's a pretty good chance that none of that was heard or not of me talking, but I had to go get water because my throat was getting pretty dry and stuff like that. Oh boy. Oh, that feels that feels so much better. My throat was getting really dry, and I had to go and run and get some water. Hopefully all my fun little shenanigans that I was saying before was heard. But yeah, so right now we are an hour and 11 minutes into this episode, and we are now halfway. We are halfway through the states of Cryptid so far. And I was kind of just because every so often I would keep an eye on where we were and stuff like that. But thinking like, okay, we're still doing good, and stuff like that. But you know what? This is my show. In reality, it probably would be smart for me to, separate these into 2 episodes. Excuse me, and just make like more video content and stuff like that, because people like having like the YouTube algorithm and stuff like that in some way likes more videos being posted and stuff like that, not some more longer ones. But you know what? This is my show. I've got an adrenaline. Oh, that's good water. I've got like a nice little adrenaline high from this right now. And you know what? We are going to keep going. We're doing all 50 states. This is the big old Cryptid Talk, probably 2-hour episode of just going over all the cryptids of each state in these dear United States that we live in today. So without further ado, without any more delay, let's continue on. We're going to go on to Montana. Okay, hold on. God, these pronunciations for some of these things. The Shunka Warakan. Shunka Warakan. Oh, there you go. Shunka Warakan. Okay, I like that one. And what's that? Well, also, real quick, that means its meaning actually comes to carries off dogs. So, unfortunately, this thing likes to hunt companions of people. It is pretty much a bigger than normal wolf that is seen in the Montana area. So it seems to be described more as a not like a dogman, like a humanoid creature, but just a bigger than normal wolf, which surprising enough is not something that's unheard of, even just in Montana, but other states in general, of dire wolves. Now, dire wolves were a very big species of wolves that did live up to, hold on, where is it? The dire wolf went extinct 125,000 years ago to or to 9,500 years 9,500 years ago. So and obviously there are stories of bigger than average wolves coming like wolves in general are pretty big, because obviously the closest modern, I guess, what's the wording for, I guess, um I cannot think of the word, just made into a pet cat. I can't think of the word right now. Wolves compared to huskies, but huskies are the closest version of wolves that we do have. But if you look at the comparison of a husky and a wolf next to each other, wolves are so much bigger than huskies. Like, they are at least double or triple the size of a husky. They may be the closest modern, closest, I still can't think of the word. Maybe the closest relative to them, to for pets, and yet wolves are still so much bigger than huskies, at least double or triple the size. So yeah, so wolves can get pretty big in general, but these so-called dire wolves seem to be bigger than that. They seem to be like, did I really not write that down? Dire wolf size. Yeah, a dire wolf weighed apparently 150 pounds. Let's see. And stood around like close to like 3 feet tall, over 3 feet tall, and just very strong. Like, in general, these things, like, if they stood up, they'd be bigger than a person. Let's just say that they're a pretty big animal. They're a pretty big animal, that's for sure. And the stories that they went extinct and stuff like that. But many people believe that they have survived in some form or fashion, or at least not as big, but still big versions of wolves that are out there. And so that's what these people might be saying. But that's what people believe, that Shankar Warakan is just a dire wolf that has survived into modern day. um, Next we have is Nebraska, and we have the Akali Lake Monster. A very interesting one. Supposedly, this creature is 40 feet long. It's like a giant brown alligator with a rhinoceros horn on its nose. Some stories even saying it's up to 100 feet long, and apparently emitting a very foul stench. Some sightings started in some early sightings started back in 1921, while the first reported one didn't happen until 1923. And apparently, there has not been any sightings of the creature since. Now, another interesting thing, I did this for some of them, but not all of them. But Alkali Lake isn't a very huge lake. Still big, but nothing huge. It's only about a mile long. Still nothing to like snub, to like, oh, a mile long, kind of thing. Still a decent size, nonetheless. But definitely something that would be impressive for a creature of that size, live in and stuff like that. So maybe it did live in there at some point and has been in sighting since. Maybe it died. Another thought I had, because obviously in there is nowhere near anywhere where there should be any species of alligator living there. So there is a pretty good chance that this might have just simply been an alligator that someone kept as a pet, and then realized that it's not cute and small anymore. It's getting big and dangerous, and they release it. And you'd be surprised how often that happens. I think last year, an alligator was found in Philadelphia, and it was a littler guy, but still, it was at a point of where it was growing to where, if left alone, it could survive. Now, sure, normally alligators are cold-blooded reptiles, and they need the sun to survive. So that's why a lot of times, like, a lot of reptiles like crocodiles, snakes, turtles, lizards, and stuff like that. They all like to bathe in the sun to warm up their body, and go there being cold blooded. While mammals like us and everything else are warm blooded, and we are naturally able to produce our own heat, while they need the sun to keep themselves warm. But in areas of the south, because there are places we are getting colder, that alligators, like many reptiles, apparently so-called can hibernate. So it's definitely not impossible for there to be one to at least live there for a little bit, survive a little bit. But the big problem is if it ran out of food, there could have not been enough food to sustain something like that. Well, now whether or not it really a huge like this would be a monster size itself, that would be a monster sized alligator, and that's incredible just amongst itself. But I don't believe that was the case. That this might just been like a bit of a smaller alligator, people not used to seeing them being there, and maybe made bigger as it was. Was it something big? Who knows? In general, alligators don't even get anywhere near as close to 40 feet. So the chance that misidentifying the size is a possibility. But I believe that this might have been as a pet, someone let loose because it got too big, and then in this little lake, and that's where the sightings initially happened, and that's why there hasn't been anything seen since then. But that's what I believe, and that at least makes a bit more sense. Than it makes a little bit more sense. Next, we've got Nevada, and we have the Tahoe Tessie. Here's another Essie. We got another one. Okay, we'll get to this one in a little because this one is interesting. It adds some interesting stuff to it. Supposedly this is some stories say it's like an 80-foot long sea serpent, kind of that lives in the cave beneath Lake Tahoe, often very compared to Nessie. So it's got the very generic, Nessie like head and body with tail and stuff like that. Even though local tribes have told stories of this creature since like the mid 19th century, so pretty long time. Apparently the size of a bus, and has the generic Nessie shape. Supposedly there was but actually before we even get to the first real recorded reporting of it, I want to go back to something real quick of local tribes have been telling stories of this creature since the 19th century, which ergo would be the 1800s. The lake itself is 21 miles long, so it's a pretty long lake. So definitely plenty of room to hide a big creature like that. How long is Lake Champlain? Oh, no. Because Lake Champlain is over 100 and over 24 miles long, and it has Champ. Don't worry, we're getting the Champ later. But yeah, so we have this. We have this creature, and so they say they've been telling stories they've been given the generic Nessie-like shape since the 19th century. So they've been giving it. If we're going by what we're saying here is true, that they have been giving it this description since the 19th century. The Nessie picture of the sturgeon's photo of what everyone thought at first was the real picture of Nessie, until found out later that it wasn't. That didn't happen until 1934, and then they were telling stories of this in the 19th century, describing it as like a Nessie-like creature. So sure, I can understand that after the whole Nessie thing came up, that some of these people say like, oh yeah, it looked like Nessie, like kind of thing. But like they are describing a creature similar to Nessie long before Nessie was ever really given her name, and long before that picture ever came up. So I'd like to think there's a bit more validity to these stories and accounts of seeing something in Lake Tahoe when they had these descriptions of the creature long before they could have been like, it looked like Nessie kind of thing. Lots of talking, lots of drinking water. And so I just find it just very interesting. Just something that we need to consider a bit more of, like, all right, let's not throw this to the wayside just yet. Because the other thing I did, hold on, Lake Tahoe. Oh yeah, so that's right, because it's on the border of Nevada, and California. Because the other thing I want to look into that there's a part in the a lot of the rivers that connect to Los Angeles, to Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, and Boise and Portland and stuff like that. There's this whole big long river. At one point they were all connected. It was all one single river, and then over time they were connected off by dams. Well, I mentioned this briefly in the past, but I'll go over quickly again. That after they start cutting off these sections of rivers and making all these dams, these river monsters started popping up. And looking into some of these actually might have just been very big sturgeon that were seen around that time. So again, I knew of Lake Tahoe, but I necessarily didn't know exactly where Lake Tahoe was. But after looking where it was, it's not in that section of possible being misidentified as a very big sturgeon. But I believe actually might be something else than just that. So I like to think that there's a bit more to Tessie than people need to like throw off throw off that might not be more considerate of what's going on there. But that's definitely a very interesting one for sure. Next, we have New Hampshire. The Wood Devils of Coos County. Stories of these creatures have been coming since the 1930s. They seem to be 7 to 9 feet tall, shaggy tan gray hair. They also another and a very interesting, very seem to be very Bigfoot like. But the one description that people always really seem to give to these things is that they're very skinny. They're not bulky, no big shoulders or anything else like that. Some of the descriptions seem to be kind of similar to what a hide behind is. And I might mention it here and there, but I'll give a brief thing of it real quick. A hide behind is some weird like either physical or spiritual creature or something like that. That likes to, as the name describes, hide behind a tree and peek at you from behind it. Now, and it always seems like a very dark creature. Again, some of these and that's what these things like to do. They also like to hide behind trees and stare at you, and they also apparently there are screams. All very interesting Bigfoot, very, very similar Bigfoot activity. But the only big thing about it is that they're very skinny. So it could be possible that these are malnourished Bigfoot or skinnier Bigfoot, stuff like that. Because I know New Hampshire is over here. New Hampshire is a small state, probably maybe a little bit bigger, the same size as New Jersey. So I guess not. I guess I couldn't really go with that. Rhode Island, maybe. Connecticut, maybe, but I guess New Hampshire. I really can't say this, but yeah. So maybe there's something different about the Bigfoot there that makes them skinnier, or maybe there's something just completely different, and they just happen to be similar in Bigfoot in some way. But most of the descriptions, besides being very skinny, everything else though is very Bigfoot-like. In the size, the color, the fact that it hides and it screams and stuff like that. So definitely something very interesting for sure. Is this a Bigfoot or is it something else? I don't know, but I do like this one, and I actually didn't know about this thing, but definitely very interesting for sure. Next, we have New Jersey, which, if there's no question of what the big cryptid here is, the Jersey Devil. I did an episode about that one about last month for the month that it was born in, so I would go give that one a listen. But I'll give a brief thing about the Jersey Devil. The story, if you didn't know already, the story goes Mother Leeds was giving birth to her 13th child, and she cursed it like, "Let this one be the devil." At first, baby's born, comes out as a beautiful baby, boy or girl, still being conducted on whether or not came out as a boy or girl. But regardless, came out as a beautiful, healthy baby. Moments later, though, its skin started changing. It was growing wings and horns and hooves on its feet, and then turned into this bat-like monstrous creature where it screamed, flew out the chimney, and it's been terrorizing New Jersey ever since. What is it for sure? Hard to say. Is it truly real? I believe so, but if you want a more in-depth analysis on the Jersey Devil, it was this all happened in February of 1735. So we're 190 years off from its birth. So You know, we'll see what happens. Maybe something crazy will happen in another 10 years. Yeah, so Jersey Devil, one of the very well-known cryptids out there. If you want more into it, go give my last episode a look. It was a good one. Next one we got is New Mexico, and their cryptid is the Territorns. Very interesting. I thought theirs was going to be Thunderbirds, because that's definitely not part of the world what Thunderbirds are. But Territorns were actually a known species of bird that did used to live back in the prehistoric times. They were a very big bird species. They had a 20-foot wingspan, and and like a 6 to 7 foot tall body. So imagine the bird the size of a person. That's pretty terrifying. But supposedly they died 6 million years ago. And their most modern their modern relatives are vultures and condors. Guess no real big surprise there. But definitely, that we'll get into it a little bit, because I've talked about when we do get to North Dakota in a little bit, theirs is Thunderbirds, and we did think about Thunderbirds. So I'll skip this one a little bit and that one a little bit, but like we did do a Thunderbird episode. So if you want to go listen to my thoughts about Territorns and Thunderbirds, go listen to the Thunderbird episode. That was a good one. Next we have New York, which I mentioned before, Champ. Or for some reason, part of this little thing called it Champy for a second, but no, it's just Champ. And of course, Champ is the feet long lake monster with like not that big. Yeah, people call Champ the American Loch Ness monster. It was named after the man who discovered the lake. Was discovered after the man who founded it, Samuel de Champlain, founded it, and then later on, apparently even back then, told stories of seeing some strange creature when he first visited the lake. And then, of course, in 1977, we had the very famous and well-known supposed picture of Champ. I believe it's legit. I believe it's real. If only that was done in modern time, we had a video, that would be the most ideal, best video of any. Like, I would consider it probably like number 2, or at least tied, if not number 2, with the Patterson Gimlin footage of Patty the Bigfoot walking. It would have been that good if we were able to get a video of it. But nonetheless, we got the single picture taken. I believe, like, I've looked at it. People have speculated that it's literally just a log or a branch, and just positioned to look like that. But the woman, it was seen by the woman who took the picture, her husband, and the 2 kids that were playing in the little shallow water there. When they saw the creature, they told the kids to come in fear of this creature possibly attacking them. Never did. But again, we won't go into it too much. I did do an episode on Champ, but I believe Champ is real. And go listen to the episode if you want more. Next, we have North Carolina, and it is the Beast of Blaytonboro, or as I actually like a bit more, the Vampire Beast of Blaytonboro. And it is the cryptid is supposedly and Champ is that generic like Nessie like description. I think I forgot to say that. The creature seems to be like a 4.5 feet long bushy creature resembling a bear or a panther, known for draining the blood from its victims like horses and sheep and other local animals. So pretty much some sort of weird vampire cat thing is how it's described a lot. In December of 1954, there were just countless attacks every day, lasted for 10 days, until it then came back in 2007. Supposedly, a lot of people also describe it as like a large cat and stuff like that, and their blood was drained. And it wasn't so called like it was eaten, but it was drained. Well, back in 2007, when these attacks started happening again, there was an episode of Monster Quest that went there. And after Monster Quest left and everything else like that, the man that they were there actually talking to about some incidences that happened there took a picture of something. And if you look in the picture, the film quality is not good, but it clearly shows an eastern cougar, which most people had said that eastern cougars were extinct. But even though apparently in 2018 the eastern cougar was apparently officially announced as extinct, but who's to say? But when I was a little kid, my nanny, who was my dad's mother, her caretaker, who was from New Jersey, would come every day, take care of her, and very nice woman. She literally showed me a picture of a cougar looking into her house from their backyard. Like, no question, there it is, right there, looking into their house as she's taking a picture of it with her phone, and then showed it to me. I'm like, wow, that's literally a mountain lion. So I believe it's possible that mountain lions are still around, even though supposedly say they went extinct in 2018. So they were even saying before that they were extinct, but I don't believe they were. But now necessarily why? Because normally mountain lions, stuff like that, they eat their prey. So is there something else more to it, or is there a bit more to it than that with these mountain lions than what they're doing? So the cougars and stuff like that. So very interesting. Possibly just a misidentification of a normal animal, but hard to say for sure. Next, we got North Dakota, and again, that's we talked about, thunderbirds. So I'll give a brief thing about it real quick. They have supposedly a 10 to 20-foot wingspan. Reports start in 1977 when a young boy was. Oh yeah, correction. I wanted to make something about the if you listen to the Thunderbird episode, and stuff like that, and so I misinterpreted the information of the birds carried the boy 20 feet off the ground and then dropped him. No, they carried him probably maybe like a foot, like a foot or so off the ground, and carried him horizontally a distance of 20 feet until then dropping him. So I misinterpreted that information. My mistake there. But nonetheless, big bird that supposedly, as it flaps its wings, it travels along thunderstorms, giving the name Thunderbird. Thunderbirds are very well known and used in Native American culture. That stories go back even farther back, even before even modern day sayings of these stories and legends of thunderbirds in Native American culture. So they're using totems and other forms of things for them. So there's definitely more to it than that. But if you did listen to it before, you obviously know before. But if this is your first time listening, again, welcome. But if you want to know more about Thunderbirds, go listen to that episode where I talk about them. Because I did also talk about Teratorns, the possibility of them being alive, or that's what people are seeing, just living species of Teratorns and Thunderbirds and stuff like that. So go give that one a listen if you have not already. Next one, I was kind of surprised about this one a little bit, but I guess because since so many other states have other Bigfoot ones, I thought the Ohio was going to be the Ohio Grassman. But when I thought about it, I was like, no, it would actually go to this. Ohio, and this is another cryptid I talked about before, the Loveland frog, a giant humanoid frog-like creature that was seen crossing the road, and supposedly looked like it had some sort of magical thing in its hand, like a wand or something like that, until it hopped over the railing and vanished into the water under the bridge. The reported sighting happened in 1972. It was around 4 feet tall. And then it wasn't seen for some time until later on, where supposedly someone who saw the creature, apparently so-called, shot it. But when they came and saw it, apparently it was a very big iguana that someone possibly had let loose. Because you can buy iguanas. Iguanas are pets. They're not very dangerous, but supposedly this one either got away, or or just someone got too big. Got too big and they let it loose, and people think that the Loveland frog actually might just been a decent sized iguana that someone released. It lost its tail and was hanging onto the railing. People thought, oh my god, a giant frog-like creature, but might have actually just been a misidentifiable iguana pet that someone had released. Is that the whole thing, or is there more to it than just that? Listen to my episode about where I talk about the Loveland frog man. Next one, we have the Oklahoma octopus. Another cryptid we have talked about on our show, so if you haven't before, go listen to that one. If not, I'll give a brief thing of this one. It is probably like a horse-sized or big octopus, a freshwater octopus that lives in some lake or lakes in some parts of Oklahoma. Obviously, octopus is a saltwater creature and cannot survive in fresh water, but on how strange octopus are and how well adaptable some animals are, maybe it's possible for it to somehow adapt into modern day into freshwater lakes. But there are Native American stories about something living in these lakes, of some people mysterious drownings, some people saying that it might have been this creature, or maybe maybe some people think that people were just dumb and just drowned on their own fruition and nothing else caused it, like some sort of strange creature that dragged them down and stuff like that. Hard to say, but I did an episode about that, so go listen to that one if you want to learn more about the Oklahoma octopus. Next, we have Oregon, colossal clawed or clad or cloddy. I'm not sure the E is silent. Now, the E is probably silent, so we'll probably say colossal clad or clawed. That's what we'll go with. Supposedly a creature that is 15 to 40 feet long, very Nessie-like shape, but it's got a much longer tail and has apparently 2 horns on the top of its head. It was seen on the Columbia River in 1934 by a lightship that was sailing along it, and then seen in 1937, similar description and size from what it was seen before. So obviously, things in general on land, sea, and air. Some things can be obstructed by surroundings or the distance of it, or a combination of both. And being able to get an accurate description of its size can be, could be tricky, especially if not all of it is out of the water and some of it is underneath. So who's this? Hard to say what this thing, whatever how big the string truly was, but definitely interesting creature. Not much more has seen about it then, but at least if it has been, not many people have come forward about seeing such a creature. 38. Or I don't know. Sometimes I do the numbers, sometimes I don't. Now we're at Pennsylvania, my state, and we have the squonk. I actually didn't learn about the squonk too much later, but definitely a very interesting little one. A very interesting one. The squonk is a pig-like cryptid that lives in the northern part of the state. Sightings were reported going back to 1910. Cries in the night that would cause that would there were these wailing cries in the night, and which I think and then when people did get to see it, always looked like it was crying, so sad. It so kind of caused how it looks, being all sad and everything. Which then apparently, whenever people tried to capture it, or so-called they did catch it in a bag or a cage, all they found that apparently the squonk can turn into a puddle of its own tears to escape capture or evade predators or something like that. So who knows? I don't actually. Okay, hold on. Are there wild pigs in Pennsylvania? Huh. So apparently, I actually didn't know this in reality. There actually are feral hogs, in parts of Pennsylvania. I wonder what parts though. What part of PA has wild hogs? So apparently in the southwest, south central, and northeast regions of Pennsylvania is where there supposedly are wild pigs. Now some of these are probably just ones that got escaped from farms or something like that. But all right, yeah, you definitely don't want to mess with wild pigs or boars or stuff like that, because there are stories of them being pretty aggressive towards people and really messing up people's legs and stuff like that. So if I ever go up to those areas, I'll have to be pretty careful. But yeah, so that's pretty much so maybe some of these cries and are pretty much these are actually like pigs or maybe Bigfoot or stuff like that. So what exactly is the squonk? Is it something real? Is it something supernatural or something else? We probably may never know, because anytime you try to catch it, it just vanishes in its own pool of tears. Kind of sad. Poor thing. All it wants is a hug. So next we're at Rhode Island. And this one's interesting. I'm not going to go too deep. Well, we'll go into it a little bit. But we have Vampire Mercy Brown. In 1892, a girl named Mercy Brown died of tuberculosis. And a lot, and that's what they say, because tuberculosis back then, especially around the time of like the Salem witch trials, and just any place where there were like the so-called like vampires, tuberculosis was a very dangerous disease back then. Like it claimed a lot of people. More like if you started coughing up blood from tuberculosis, to most people, you were gone. It was also called consumption. And why it was called that, because when you had tuberculosis, like it looked like you got decline in body weight and muscles. So like it like consumed your body, your muscles. So kind of giving like that skinny, like pale vampire look. And what happened with her was that, a lot of times, and I think a lot of this happened with this, that during when you had tuberculosis and you're coughing up blood and stuff like that, even if you were supposedly dead, there'd be blood around your mouth, and so ergo giving it the version that you came that the person came back to the dead and had feasted on a person, and it was an undead spawn, kind of thing. And that's what probably started a lot of this. Supposedly, also she was also frozen for a bit, and even after she was buried, supposedly even though she was dead, supposedly she still had some sort of heartbeat or like color in her face and like that, and which ergo made people think that she was a vampire. But in reality, though, she was just one of the many people who thought were vampires. At least in these cases, were actually just people who were had tuberculosis, and that's what the blood around their mouths and signs of what they thought was vampires were actually just this. Very interesting. Hold on. Was there anything else? Um, nah, pretty much it. And yeah, so that's what a lot of vampire stuff was actually just probably misidentification of the true symptoms behind tuberculosis. Next we have South Carolina, and we've got the lizard man of Scape or Swamp, and or just normal lizard man or like reptilian humanoids. We've talked about it before in a past episode. If you haven't listened, go listen to that one. So, we'll give a brief thing about it. Lizard man is about a 7 foot tall reptilian humanoid like creature, and they're not just seen in South Carolina. These things are seen everywhere, all over the world. Some of them describe them as with tails, some of them don't. Some of them have different shaped heads, but a lot of very similarities of being a reptilian humanoid-like creature that was terrifying to most people and seen as aggressive in some cases. Are they an alien? Is it something more natural in some way, or like some people just think that it might be some sort of dinosaur that survived and evolved for some reason into a more humanoid-like shape? Excuse me. Go listen to that episode if you haven't already. If you want to learn more about Lizard Man. Next, we have South Dakota, and with South Dakota's cryptid is the Tuku Tuku Tukuhe, Tukuhi, Tukuhe, Tukuhi, Tukuhe, Tukuhu, Tukuhe kind of thing. Pretty much another Bigfoot-like creature with a very interesting description that is often seen wearing a coat and top hat. Very, very interesting. The heck? There we go. It's reported started coming in around the 1970s. It's around 7 feet tall. Its name Takuhi actually means "what is it" from the local language there. Um, Very interesting. For all we know, maybe this Bigfoot got curious and decided to wear like a coat and top hat, just be like probably someone like hanging their clothes and like that, and they just saw like, oh, look at me, I'm a dapper Bigfoot, kind of thing. But I believe the Tukuhi is just another type of Bigfoot that lives in the area, and maybe this one in particular just liked wearing a coat and top hat because it probably looks really dapper as all hell in it. Going by from that. Next, for Tennessee, we have the Tennessee Wildman, another Bigfoot-like creature. Starts being seen, and reports started coming in the 1800s. One of the stories apparently that a circus captured one and displayed it in their cage for a bit until one point it then escaped and broke free. It's apparently got dark hair, ginger hair. Hold on a second. World map. Tennessee, where are you? Where are you? Tennessee. 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 Where is Tennessee? I'm having a tough time finding Tennessee. There's Tennessee. Okay, right below Kentucky. There it is. Hello there. Ah, right. That's the frying pan that's cooking the Kentucky chicken. Right. Okay. So I don't know. Like it's got the generic description of like 7 foot tall man like creature, high pitched green, apparently seen as aggressive, especially with its color. Possibly again, there's Bigfoot anywhere, but maybe this is like a skunk ape that traveled up more north or stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that there's been some areas where some people have seen multiple different colors of them and stuff like that. So yeah, so Tennessee Wildman is just another Bigfoot cryptid in the United States, and just another very interesting one. And but this one, oh yeah, okay. Also, one more other thing I wanted to say. I forgot about this part. That apparently stories would come that they would try to be snatched up. The women would almost be snatched up by them, but it never worked. Now, obviously, there's because the thing I saw about it was like, well, of course, obviously, it never worked. Yeah, because we're getting the stories of the people that escaped. What about the stories of people who didn't escape and never came back and were snatched up by these things for unknown reasons? Definitely hard to say for sure. Especially with some people, like, oh yeah, look, all these people survived. Well, okay, well, what about the people who didn't survive? Kind of thing. So just another Bigfoot like creature and stuff like that. Next, we got Texas. We have the chupacabra. The picture is kind of going more of like the Puerto Rican, like Mexican version of like the more alien like chupacabra, but we did chupacabra, so we'll go fully into it. If you saw it before, great. If not, go check that episode out. The Texas version seems to describe him more as like a canine, and while the other part just seems to be more like some weird like reptilian kind of creature. But what was interesting though, there was a show that came out that I finally watched because when it was done, it came out on Discovery Plus, called Lost Monster Files, where these people would apparently found some files of one of the first few original cryptozoologists that actually started it all, and there was a supposed chupacabra that was killed and stuffed years ago, and they would collect DNA of it, so they had a sequence. And then in the episode where they supposedly tried to get evidence of it, there was something that they were recording, quickly ran by in front of the camera. They had some hair traps, and supposedly got hair that exactly matched the DNA of this one they found before, because it had some normal stuff, but then it had something else that was different, weird, unknown, and stuff like that. So regardless, where I'm going with this is that they didn't always get something, but like at first when they were kind of getting something every episode, I'm still not 100% sure if Lost Monster Files was a very legit show. If you watch Lost Monster Files and you know for sure if it is or not is not real, let me know in the comments below, because I'm really curious, because it's different from other shows, but like some of it looks legit, some of it doesn't. Maybe it's both. I really don't know. Maybe it is a totally legit show and they actually got something really interesting in this one. I don't know. Very interesting nonetheless. But Chupacabra, the goat sucker, the one that drains blood from goats, the terror of many South U.S. and South American countries. I need a drink of water real quick. Okay, next we have Utah. We have the Bear Lake Monster. In the 19th, the reported started coming in around the 19th century. Supposedly, this was like a 40-foot, some saying even a 90-foot long creature with a snout, powerful legs, and a lizard-like head living in the lake. The last known sighting was in 2007, and hold on, I think I remember looking at this before. Something that I said earlier that since it's in Utah again, nowhere near where alligators are known to live, but supposedly this could have been an alligator that got away as a pet. And like I said before, alligators can hibernate in the right conditions. Now, they may not do it perfectly. If it gets too cold, there's probably not so much they can do. There's probably a certain cold that they probably can do, but hard to say for sure. I'm not a super duper mega expert on alligators, so I can't say for sure. But interesting creature nonetheless. It's very, very reptilian kind of looking creature. Some people say it's kind of like a dinosaur like thing, but it's possible that either misidentifies something else, like an alligator, or maybe there's something else more to it than that. Is it a 90-foot creature? Probably not. Bear Lake. Oh, excuse me. Utah. Yeah, huh? Let's see how big Bear Lake is real quick. Do-do-doot. Do-do-doot. Bear Lake is actually pretty big. It's almost about 19 miles long, so it's a pretty big lake. So something big in there could, if it really wanted to, it could survive in there without really ever being noticed. So who knows for sure, but definitely something interesting for sure with this one. Okay. So yeah. Okay. 45. Why did I do something that I doing? Next one I got is Vermont, the Northfield Pigman. I have heard about. There was something about this I read. Okay, well, let me get into it real quick. The Northfield Pigman, supposedly this half man, half pig creature with a pig head and a human body, known for its grotesque appearance and its actions. So kind of like a humanoid pig thing. Well, supposedly the story goes that a boy went missing named Sam Harris. And then later on, it was never found. Then later on, was supposedly seen wearing what looked like a pig's head on its head, like a mask, and would then slaughter pigs, and pigs would go missing and stuff like that. And the story goes that it was possessed, that the boy got possessed by the devil or some sort of demon to perform these things, create these terrible acts upon pigs and scaring humans and stuff like that. Now, I have heard about Sam Harris before, going by one of my sources where I look for some of this information. I've seen Sam Harris pop up, but I was like, it's probably just some crazy person wearing a pig head and stuff like that. Well, yes, but there's also this person could always seem to be carrying an axe and stuff like that. But some of these things, and the pig would go missing and stuff like that. Now, actually, because I do remember looking in the BFRO for Vermont. There's not a whole lot of reports in Vermont, but there are some, because there's some of them are connected to some of the more heavier areas of New York, which borders it right there with Lake Champlain right there. And so some of these things, pigs going missing and stuff like that, may have been part of this guy, but maybe might have also been some Bigfoot activity also going along the same time as this. Now, he was apparently seen more doing some of these horrible things, with more so with pigs, but so that might have been what he, possibly did. But definitely something interesting to say, and it hasn't been, nothing's really been seen of it since then. But yeah, so kind of a weird little thing with that, but I think that's all just maybe just a messed up person, and for some reason or what's another. Next, we have Virginia, and Virginia's is the Snallygaster. Now, I have seen so many different depictions, pictures of the Snallygaster, and my God, some of these depictions of the Snallygaster make it like the most weirdest, grotesque, multi-animal combination thing that I have ever seen. The generic thing between them is always some sort of giant flying creature thing that looks like it's some sort of it's described by described by people as like this half bird with half bird features and looks like a demon and ghoul, part reptile. It's got 3 to 4 to 5 tongues sticking out like these multiple forked tongues kind of thing. It's just this very weird creature. Supposedly, though, German immigrants have reports of this thing going back to the 1730s. And apparently, even to the point when Theodore Roosevelt heard of this creature when he was president, almost canceled his hunt in Africa to come and find the creature himself. He didn't though, and went to Africa, but didn't come hunting for this thing. But supposedly stories even continued even till then. Hmm. I'll have to look into Snallygaster a bit more to see if there really is anything else more to it. Because I didn't see anything else more to it, but like it's always just been seen as this weird, strange like strange creature, and how it looked and how it's described and everything else like that. So very interesting creature nonetheless. With Virginia and the Snallygaster. Of course, next we got Washington, and no surprise is Washington's just Bigfoot. We know Bigfoot is Bigfoot. We all know Bigfoot. The Parasite and Gimlin footage, Sasquatch, all the different variations as we've been talking about. And Bigfoot is just one of the most well-known, most popular cryptids in the entire world. Nessie probably being second. And obviously Bigfoot-like creatures are seen on every single continent except Antarctica. And obviously, how big of a Bigfoot fan I am because we have 3 episodes about it. Possibly a 4th Bigfoot episode is coming. I'm trying to see if there's enough information I can get to have a 4th episode, but there might be a 4th Bigfoot episode coming. So if you're looking forward to more Bigfoot talk, be excited for that. But it's Bigfoot. You want all my different thoughts about Bigfoot and everything? Go listen to my 3 episodes I've got about Bigfoot and why Bigfoot is awesome. And it is only a matter of time till we have Bigfoot is confirmed. Next, we have Virginia. And we got Mothman. No surprise there. I did an episode about Mothman, so if you listened to it already, you know about it. But if not, go give that one a listen. But we'll give a brief thing of Mothman's a large humanoid-like creature that terrorized Point Pleasant, West Virginia. I've been there. I've seen the statue. I was there when it was nighttime, so I didn't get to go into the museum. But at some point, I would like to go back and visit the Point Pleasant Mothman Museum. And some people say it as a harbinger of doom. Some say it was actually some people warning people. Is it an alien? Is it a science experiment gone wrong? Who knows? But more information, go give my episode about Mothman a listen. Next, we have the Beast of Bray for Wisconsin. We have the Beast of Bray Road. I talked about this in my Dogman episodes. We won't go too deeply into it, but I have learned something else a little bit more interesting lately. They're the tall humanoid werewolf-like creature, very dangerous. There was last when I was in Kentucky this past November for CryptidCon, I met a man who actually has seen Dogman and has books recording accounts of people have had with these things, and unfortunately, some people who have lost their lives to these things. And one of the stories the one area they're talking about is the Land Between the Lakes, which is in southwestern Kentucky. And my God, I've heard stories of Dogman being very dangerous. The Dogmen in these areas, in this area in general, the Land Between the Lakes, seem to be so much more dangerous and just so much more ruthless than any other Dogmans that I've seen. A quick thing that I will say is that one story of a boy who had his 6 or 7 coon hounds, they went loose, and out of all of them, only 2 of them came back. 4 of them were killed. Were killed. One of them was impaled onto a tree like 6 feet off the ground on a branch, was still alive, and unfortunately had to put it down right there. But these things are ruthless in this area. It's crazy. So Dogman, definitely something to be careful. If you ever go into the Land Between the Lakes in Kentucky, be very careful. That's all I'm gonna say. And last but certainly not least, we have Wyoming, and we have the jackalope. Not a super duper well known cryptid, but jackalope is definitely one of those cryptids that's very well known in a lot of just early cryptozoology stuff. If the jackalope, if you don't know what jackalope is, it's pretty much a bunny with antlers. That's really all it is. It's also very strong in Native American folklore too, I guess, with the symbolism. Some people think that it also might the horns are actually a bit more of a virus, where they are get like horn or antler like tumors grow from the heads of these rabbits, and make them look like their antlers, and it could go into jackalope. Now there were supposedly like a stuffed jackalope one day, but found out later that it was just a stuffed rabbit that had antlers attached to it to make it look like it was a jackalope. So that was fake, but that all might be it is, or maybe there's more to it. I don't know for sure. Woo! And that's it. My goodness, we go. That is all 50 states in these United States, and the cryptid in each one that makes it their home. Now, obviously, some of these cryptids are in multiple states, or just different names, like all the different Bigfoot ones. Oh, it's good water. But yeah. So I hope you all enjoy this one. I'm sorry for the delay that we had here, but I'm thinking that some of these episodes might these episodes might start coming out on Saturday. I originally planned it, to release them on Fridays at 3 o'clock because, like, okay, people are leaving work, maybe get something for them to listen to, and no one seemed to really listen to any of the episodes on Fridays, and more of the traffic for people listening seemed to come more on weekends. So I'm planning on probably going to release these on Saturday. Not sure exactly what time, maybe around the same time, maybe something else, but be ready for the episodes to start coming out on Saturdays. So you've seen them. So while you're doing stuff around the house, or you're something like that, you've got a nice little big old over 2 hour long episode we got today of going all over this. So this was a fun one. My motivation, I'm like so motivated right now to do more, and and like watching things and stuff like that. So be sure to be sure if you haven't already, please, if you haven't already, like the Facebook page, facebook.com/cryptotalk. If you found my YouTube channel, not my Facebook page. And of course, the YouTube channel, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Really want people, like the more likes, share, comments I get, the more times that YouTube will recommend my video, my channel to other people. So all that helps me out greatly. And yeah, I think that's gonna be it for today. Again, I also have my email, cryptidtalk91@aol.com. If you've seen something, or know someone that has, or a story or a picture you want just someone to, I've seen something, I don't know what it is, please help me. You want to tell me your story? Like, come to me. I've read so many different stories. There's a lot of crazy stuff that lives in these woods. I will not judge you at all, make fun of you, or anything else like that. I will give you my utmost, accurate thing that I believe what it is, and then we'll go from there. But don't be shy. I'll be more than happy to hear any stories that people might have to share. So yeah, there's the Facebook channel, the YouTube, and everything like that. So I hope everyone has a good day. It's starting to get warmer out there, and I'm sorry, I gotta get back into shape for my BFRO expedition in June. So very much looking forward to that. And yeah, so I hope everyone has a good day. And remember, keep your ears and eyes open for the creepiness in store, because you never know what you'll find outside of your door. This has been Cryptid Talk with Michael Mann. Have a good day, everyone. Stay safe. Love you all.